Okay. So as you can see, I'm logged in right now to the Prophix homepage, and this is where when any user initially opens up Prophix, each user has their own homepage, and they log in. And the components of this homepage is on our left-hand side. You'll see a navigation bar, and you're able to, as a company, insert your own logo. On this navigation bar, there is also announcements that can be posted that are relevant to financial planning and reporting. You have favorites, and these are shortcuts to some of your favorite reports or processes in the system, so you're able to access those with one click. There's also your applications, so these are all the applications that the majority of users will have access to and will be utilizing throughout the day. And at the very bottom, there's an administration panel for Prophix administrators who will be managing the accounts and the departments or the divisions that will be added into Prophix. Right here on the home page, there's what they call the Smart Portal, and this allows you to embed any type of URL onto the Prophix homepage. So what we're looking at right now is actually a SQL Reporting Services dashboard that was put together. What's significant about that is SQL Reporting Services is one of the main reporting tools used by Dynamics GP and Dynamics CRM and many other the Microsoft technologies. And so you're able to embed any type of report or dashboard into this Smart Portal homepage, as well as you can embed your website, or you can embed a SharePoint page. So any page that has a URL, you're able to embed that within the Prophix homepage. And then up here at the very top, we have your individual assigned workflow tasks. So as an employee that's involved in the budgeting or financial planning process, you can use the workflow management functions of Prophix, which allows you to create workflows for each of the different functions. So if you have a kind of financial consolidation reporting package that needs to be put together, you can create a workflow activity for that, and that can be made up of a number of different tasks, as well as if you have a budgeting cycle workflow package that you want to put together. You can do that as well, and you can assign individual tasks to employees. And you can see here I have a number of different tasks that I need to perform along with the due dates assigned to those tasks. So each user, as they log into Prophix, will have their own unique tasks assigned to them. I'm going to go ahead and start down in the administration area under Document Explorer. So Prophix has its own file management system, and it's very similar to Windows Explorer, so real easy learning curve. I'm logged in currently as the administrator, and each user has their own set of My Documents. So this allows users to have their own personal reports, files, processes, things that they personally, different data views that they're looking at, things they don't want others to alter, or things that are specific to their role in the company. And so this allows each individual user to have their My Documents, and there's also the ability to share different reports. So if multiple users need to access a specific report, such as a monthly income statement or a cash flow statement, you can put those in a shared folder and allow multiple users to access those reports. You also have the ability within this Document Explorer to assign the favorites that I had mentioned just earlier. And what you can do is you right-click on a report, and you select Add Favorite, and you can either add it to yourself, specific users, or all users in the company. And once you do that, it creates a favorite over here in your Favorites section. So we're going to go ahead and click one of those favorites, the monthly income statement. And again, it's just a hyperlink directly to this specific report. And it opens up this income statement. That's for the company. And so this income statement was created in Prophix, and you can see some of the reporting or the formatting tools that are available in Prophix, the ability to insert your company logo. There's also, the same type of formatting features that you would see in Excel, such as bolds, underlines, different color patterns that you can use. Here's an example of a cell comment that was placed on a particular cell within the report. Looks very similar to Excel, so that you can identify if there's additional comments behind any of the values. And so one of the other neat features about the income statement or any of the reports within Prophix is you have the ability to switch between different dimensions. So in this example, we have a department dimension. And I have a list of all the departments in the company, and I can easily switch if I want to look at an income statement for the finance and admin department of my company. It refreshes, and the performance is built on Microsoft Analysis services, so it's built for performance, built for data aggregation and data management. And so I was able to switch easily between the consolidated view of my income statement to a specific department. I can go ahead and switch over to the legal department. And once I select that, it automatically refreshes the data. And as it does that, you'll notice I have some kind of dynamic, what they call dynamic page members in Prophix. But what they do is it's a dynamic description of the report that you're looking at. So as I switch between departments, you'll see that the legal heading or title is appended to the report. And then what I can do is that when I print this report or distribute this report in other ways, that the people who are receiving this report will know exactly which department is assigned to it. In this example, I have departments, but you can also, as we're building out the Prophix solution, whatever dimensions are relevant to your company, it may be divisions, lines of business, departments, projects, we can build those into the Prophix solution. And this is just one example of utilizing a department dimension to do that. So once you've opened your report and selected it, you have the ability to distribute this report in various mediums. One of them being I can simply print the report. I can do a print preview. I have the ability to distribute this report via email, so I can immediately send this report as a PDF or an Excel document to my email account that I'm logged into. And then I can also distribute this report to SharePoint. So you're able to create a SharePoint space and then tie Prophix to that SharePoint page. And when I distribute this report, it actually distributes it to that SharePoint page that you've assigned. In this example, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and export this report out to Microsoft Excel. And you have the ability when you click these buttons to either export the current page. So right now I'm looking at the legal department income statement. Or what you can do is you can distribute it multiple pages. So I'm going to go ahead and select multiple pages. And I want to see the total company, the finance and admin, and the legal department here. So you select which departments you want to export to Excel. Click OK. And once I do that, it asks me to give a name to the file and select a location. I'm going to go ahead and save it to my desktop. And now it's generating each of the individual department income statements. Okay, so it's complete. I'm going to go to my desktop, and here's that Excel file that I just exported. And when I do this, if I select multiple dimensions, as I did, I selected the total consolidated company, my finance and admin department, and my legal department. What it does is Prophix automatically creates a table of contents with hyperlinks to the individual departmental income statements. So what I can do is I can select the total company income statement, and it takes me directly to that page. If I want to go back in and select the finance and admin, I can do that as well. And so this really benefits companies that have a number of departments or a number of divisions or lines of business and want a full consolidated package and able to easily navigate to all those individual reports. And so you can see all the formatting that we set up in Prophix seamlessly gets exported into Excel without any formatting alterations. So aside from just exporting reports from Prophix to Excel or distributing those to SharePoint or other mediums, you can also create reports, Prophix reports, directly in Excel without having to be logged in into Prophix. And so I'm going to go ahead and open up a new sheet. And Prophix has an Excel add-in, as you can see up here. And what you do is you're able to connect, and you're logging in as your specific user. And so as I'm logging into this, Excel knows, based on the user that I logged into, what my security rights are, what my access rights, what read-write access I have to specific data or specific departments. I'm going to go ahead and create a new report directly in Excel. So I click the New button. I select the cube, and we're going to create one that's linked to Dynamics GP. And it pulls open the report wizard from Prophix in order to start creating my report. And we'll see this report wizard in Prophix after I'm done creating this report. And you'll see that it's the exact same window. So whether you're building a report in Microsoft Excel or whether you're building a report in Prophix, it uses the same window, which again assists with that learning curve. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a summary level income statement. And so I'm going to go ahead and look through my account hierarchy here, and we've pre-built these out to group by the different account groupings. And again, this would be specific to your organization, how you would like to group your accounts and your income statement. So I'm going to pull on total revenue, total cost of goods sold, and pull in my gross margin, along with my total operating expenses. I'll bring in my EBITDA, some depreciation, some non-operating, my EBIT, along with some total tax, and last my net income at the very bottom there. We're going to select 2017, which is the demo year for the Demo Dynamics GP company. And we're going to do this so I can see the months all across my columns along with the full year balance. And then the rest of these, I'm going to go ahead and select all departments so we get a total consolidated view of that. And I click OK. And it generates the report directly within Excel. This is data that was pulled directly from Prophix. This is live data. And now that I have the report within Excel, I can use all the formatting features that I'm familiar with Excel. And so I'm going to go ahead and just start formatting this just like you would in Excel. So I'm going to go ahead and center my column headers there and give my column headers some formatting. I'm going to select my values and round them to the dollar and select the very bottom of my net income and give that a top and double bottom border there. And just like that, I built a summary income statement directly within Excel. So if I were to ever want to go in and refresh this report, so this right now is data that was pulled just seconds ago from Prophix, but anytime I want to go in and refresh this data, I don't have to re-export the data from Prophix to Excel and go through that whole process directly from within Excel. I can use the refresh button. It refreshes the data, and it automatically maintains all of my formatting. So I don't have to reformat this report in Excel. It maintains the formatting, refreshes the data, and so now I have a live income statement directly within Prophix. One of the other things you can do is I created this report within Excel, but I can actually save this report back to Prophix. So I don't have to be within Prophix to actually create my reports. So I'm going to go ahead and save this, and it takes me directly to my documents. I'm going to call this income statement and save it to my documents. So now the data view is saved, and we're going to go back into Prophix. All right. So I'm going to go to my Document Explorer, to My Documents, and you'll see that there's the income statement that I just saved within Excel. I'm going to open that up. So when I open this up, it takes me to a tool called Adhoc Analysis, and this is a tool that's used for data analysis, financial analysis. This is not your formatted income statement like we saw previously, but this is a tool that you can use to more so slice and dice data, move data around, and see data in a way that you've probably never seen it before. And so I'm going to give you a couple examples of how we can use this tool to analyze the data. So right here I have my accounts are my summary level accounts are within the rows. I have my time across the top, so I've got my year and all my individual months. I have my department up here, what they call your pages or your filters, and I'm going to go ahead and just add all the individual departments. And once I do that, I can again select between different departments as I showed you on that formatted income statement. Right? One of the other abilities one of the benefits of using this ad hoc analysis tool for data analysis is I can just drag and drop these different members into different areas. So if I want to see an income statement by department, I can drag the department dimension onto my columns. And what that does is it gives me an income statement by department with all my departments across the column. So you can see just as simple as drag and drop, I now have a completely different report. I don't have to build this report from the ground up. I have the structure, and I'm able just to move dimensions around and use this this data analysis tool to easily analyze data. So I'll just give you an example of what I did. I just dragged the time there, and now I have my time back into my columns. So one of the other things I can do is I can drag my departments as I dragged them into my columns last time, and now I can drag them into my rows. And now I have my departments across my rows, and I can select a specific account. So maybe if I want to see my total operating expenses across all my departments, I now have a report that shows me my departments in my rows, my time in the columns, and my total operating expenses for every single one of my departments. So one of the other features is the ability to look at this data. Right now we're viewing it in this grid format and more of a table structure, but you can view this data also in a chart format. So I'm going to drag some values, and I'm going to drag my departments into my columns. And I'm going to view this in more of a chart format. So I'm going to go ahead and select chart. And once I did that, I can now see that I can see what my total operating expenses are for each of my departments for the year, and I can even select individual months if I like, but across all my departments. And I can even switch between different types of charts. So here's an example of a line chart. Here's an example of a bar chart. And you can use different coloring schemes as well within these charts. And if I want, I can switch back to my grid. And just like that, you can switch between a grid and a chart. I'm going to move my accounts back into my rows and my time back into my columns. And so one of the other neat features that Prophix has from a reporting standpoint is you're able to drill into these summary level numbers. So these numbers came directly from GP, were imported from GP into Prophix. And I can actually go in and drill into these numbers and get more detail behind it. So I can see that I have total office expenses of around $15,000. And if I want to look in and see, well, what is that made up of, there's a drill across feature. In this drill across feature, we can drill across into any type of data that's within your ERP system. So, if this is general ledger balances you want to see, so you want to see the journal entry, you can drill into that. If you want to look at the payables management information, so if I want to look at the invoice detail, I can drill into that. If this was a number in sales, and if I want to look at the receivables and the customers behind that, or the products behind that specific information, I can do that as well. So any type of data that's stored within your ERP system, we can create these drill across features and get access to more of that detailed data. So I'm going to go ahead and select the GL detail. And I can see that this is made up of 2 different journal entries for this particular account. And I have all the information, any field that's available in GP or any ERP system that's related to this specific value, we can pull in. So you're not limited to preset values. And some of the other tools like a management reporter or an FRX are limited to the preset values that Microsoft has defined. But in this case, we can design this to your liking. So you can see, I can see there's actually the purchase order receipt number for that specific invoice. And I can also, that was the general ledger, and if I wanted to, I can drill across into the payables management module. And I can see the vendor ID and the vendor name and the invoice number and a description of the invoice. So those are some examples how you can use, get more detail behind your values in your system. So I'm going to take us now into some of the budgeting aspects of Prophix. We've talked about some of the financial reporting and some of the financial analysis, and now I'm going to take us into the budgeting features of Prophix. So I'm going to go back to my home page, and earlier when I first logged into Prophix and was talking about the home page, I had spoken about these workflow tasks and how you can assign workflow tasks to individuals and use workflow within Prophix. So we're going to use that as an example. I've been assigned the departmental expense plan input. So I need to go in and enter my budget data for my specific department. And I've got a due date here, and it's way past due, so I need to get busy. I'm going to go ahead, and all you have to do is click the hyperlink, the task that was assigned to you, and it automatically opens up the budget template that is being used. And so the nice thing about Prophix is that you don't have to create multiple budget templates for every individual department manager. You can create one template and have that template shared across all the different departments, and then Prophix has a security manager where you can restrict people's read-write access to specific departments. So if I was only assigned to the finance and admin department and only had read access to the legal or human resources departments, we could set that up in Prophix, and so you could utilize the same template for all of the departments without having to create multiple Excel spreadsheets and be passing those and emailing those spreadsheets around. It's all centralized in one location, and as soon as I submit my budget data within this template, it's automatically consolidated into the budget. So no longer having to wait to have people email you back all their individual budget templates and somebody having to manually consolidate that data within Excel. It's a very time-consuming and error-prone process. With Prophix, you take all of the manual and error-prone processes out of it, and as soon as you submit your budget and that budget's approved, it gets absorbed into the data into your consolidated budget. So I'm going to go ahead and select the finance and admin budget, and this is what I'm responsible for. and I want to talk through some of the different options. So I can, select any period within my budget and type a number in there and budget for that specific period. However, if you want to budget for specific accounts, if you budget at the yearly level or a quarterly level or maybe a higher level than the specific period, you can also do that. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to book some overtime. I got to keep my finance and admin people busy, as if they're not busy enough. So I'm going to go ahead and plan for some overtime in my budget year. I'm going to click enter, and once I do that, I budgeted at the year level. It asks me for some spreading options. So Prophix is going to spread that value across the months, and I have to select which option I would like to use. So you have the spread evenly option. You can spread based on existing data for the current member combination. So that means if there was some existing data already in the month of 2013 for this specific account, it would proportionally spread the data based on that existing data. I can also spread based on my quarters or my years or my months, depending on how high level I'm budgeting. Or I can spread based on data in a completely different member. So this may be relevant to if you spread data based on the gross margin of your lines of business, for example, for commission's sake. You can do that as well. In this example, I'm going to go ahead and spread my overtime evenly across the different months. I click OK, and it spreads that value evenly. So it really does save time. If you don't need a budget at the period level, you can budget at a higher level and have that spread across the periods. You can also do this for departments. So if you're budgeting at more of a consolidated department and you want that value to spread over individual departments, that's also possible. One of the other budgeting features is line item details. So in my office expenses, I may want my budget managers to define exactly what they're planning on purchasing. So I can see in the month of February, my office expenses jumped from $150 in January to $13,000 in February. So I want to be able to define what that is made up of. So I right-click and select my line item details, and I can then insert different details. So you can see in the month of February here, I'm planning on purchasing an Xerox office copier. That's what counts for that large expense. I have some copier paper as well and some ink and toner. So with any account, you can select line item details. You can also enforce this. So if there's specific accounts that you want to force your users to enter line item details for, you can enforce that. Otherwise, you can just allow people to enter summary level numbers. So you have that flexibility to either enforce it or to not enforce it. But here's just one example of being able to break out a summary value into line item details. And as I do that, you'll see that there's a little indicator, a little blue indicator at the bottom of the cell. So as a budget manager or somebody who needs to approve this budget is looking through it, they can easily identify whether there's additional information behind that cell. There's also the ability to enter cell comments. And so I can see here that my travel expenses look pretty high for the month of January, and I want to be able to justify why those travel expenses are so high. So we have the ability to enter a comment on these cells. So I'm going to go ahead and right-click, drill into cell comments. And you can see that I posted this specific comment, date, time stamped when I posted that comment, and I put the comment in that I'm attending a financial planning conference in the month of January, and that's why my air travel is so expensive, because I'm going to be flying. You can also add attachments, and it embeds those attachments into the budget. So if I wanted to select maybe some sort of email or PDF file that explains what the conference is about, I can do that. So any clarifying materials you can attach to your cell comments. And as I post these cell comments, you'll see that just like in Microsoft Excel, you have that little red comment indicator that shows that a comment is on that cell. Again, just allowing the person reviewing the budget to be able to look at the additional information behind the value. There's also a tool called Delta Analysis within Prophix, and so I'm going to use this as an example on my advertising expense. And so you can see that I budgeted about $11,000 in the month of January, but I may want to see what did I budget last year, or what was my actuals last year. I want to compare this to how much I actually spent last year in these individual months for my advertising. So again, I can right-click, select Delta Analysis, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to compare my current plan to my last year actuals. So I'm going to move my comparison to back a year, And now you can see that I've budgeted $11,000 in January for the current year, but last year I actually spent $15,000 in the month of January. So there's a 31% decrease in my advertising expense. And you can see maybe in the month of July, I can see here there was a major decrease as well in the month of July. So maybe I am running a marketing campaign in the month of July, and I can see that I did that last year. So I imagine that maybe 10% more this year than it was last year. So if I type in 10% into my delta percentage there, it automatically increases my advertising expense in the month of July for that 10% increase. So I can either increase it by a specific amount or by a percentage. And as I do that, I'm going to go ahead and close out of here. It automatically updates my budget. And so you'll see that this value right here, it changes from 9,000, there it just went, to 14,735, a 10% increase on my last year actual expense for my print advertising. So just an example of how you can use prior year data to budget for your current year. So been talking about, over the course of this webinar, workflow, and I opened a workflow task. That's what brought me to this template. And when I'm done completing my data, there's a workflow tab, and I have the ability to, maybe add some comments, some high-level comments about my budget, as well as view any existing comments. But when I'm ready, I can submit my budget for my finance and admin department. And once I submit that, it creates a workflow task for my manager to approve that, or whoever's managing the budgeting cycle there. So once I click submit, it goes into an approval task, and so it will go to the manager of that particular department or the person who's managing the cycle. So they'll see an approval task come up, they click it, it will take them to that. It'll take them to this expense report template, and they'll be able to review all the comments and line item details and all the values that you've put for the finance and admin department. So again, real clear workflow, and really allows you to expedite the budgeting process and remove any of those questions that might arise and that constant communication. So another feature that I want to talk about during what you'll probably experience during a budgeting process is allocations and reforecasts. And so there's a tool that's used to perform allocations and reforecasts, and it's called InfoFlex. So I'm going to open up an example of a simple allocation here. And this is a tool that allows you to define, okay, what do I want to allocate and how do I want to allocate it? And so you're able to define what some of your common values are. So I'm going to allocate from my budget for the year 2013. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to select my source and target members. So this is I'm going to allocate from and to. So my source data is I'm allocating from total operating expenses, my corporate overhead for my operating expenses, and I'm going to allocate that to all my sales divisions, all the lines of business within my sales department. And so this is simple. It's just a matter of simply defining the accounts or a group of accounts that you want to allocate and aggregating that expense and the departments that you want to aggregate from and the departments that or lines of business or divisions you want to aggregate to. And so once I do that, I can automatically create a contra account entry. So the system is sophisticated enough to know if I'm pulling expense from one location, I need to generate a contra entry for that and bring that allocation value into my sales lines of businesses. And I'm also performing a spread. So because I'm not just putting this data into one line of business, but I'm going to go ahead and drill into this and show you the multiple lines of business here. I'm actually going to take total corporate overhead and spread it among a number of different divisions. So the question is, how am I going to spread that? Am I going to spread evenly? Am I going to spread based on data that's currently in that combination? I've decided to go ahead and spread based on the gross margin for each of those individual divisions. And so a higher gross margin will get a higher overhead expense from corporate. So that's just one example of how you can use this InfoFlex tool within Prophix to do allocations. So they can be very simple, they can be more complex, but it gives you all the tools that you need to perform the allocations for your budgeting process. Here's an example of a reforecast. So I'm using the exact same tool, InfoFlex, to perform a reforecast. And so what I'm doing is I'm taking all my accounts, and I'm only going to reforecast for Q3 and Q4 here, and for my total company. and I'm taking my original budget. I'm going to copy that over into this new forecast version that I've created. And so what this does is it just takes over your original budget, copies that budget to my Q3 and Q4, so it gives me kind of a foundation to start on, a place to start, and then I can change, and you can also increase by a certain percentage. So if you know that you know, I'm going to increase this by a certain amount, you can do that. You can see here increase or decrease by a certain, or multiply by a certain amount. So you have all those options during the reforecast process. So what I've done, and I have just a quick example here of what I've done, is I created a forecast version. As you can see here, here's my forecast, reforecast for all my months, and I said I'm going to pull in my actuals for this first 6 months. So Prophix is sophisticated enough to you can define and tell it I want to pull in my actuals for my first 6 months, and I just want to reforecast my Q3 and Q4, my last 6 months. And so if I try to override data in the first 6 months, it's going to tell me that you can't do that. This data is locked because I'm pulling the actual GL data for those first 6 months, and I just need to insert now, and I can then insert data for the last 6 months. So that's just an example of how you can go about doing that, creating a reforecast version. Very simple. It takes a matter of minutes to set up. Same thing with the allocations. So historically, creating a reforecast has been a very tedious and a process that requires a lot of manual overhead, because it requires taking all those Excel spreadsheets that had the original budget, you know, copying and pasting them into new Excel spreadsheets, and then sending them all back out to all your department managers, and now this really expedites that process significantly. So we've talked about some of the financial reporting. We just kind of completed the budgeting aspects of Prophix. I'm going to just take you into some of the additional tools that Prophix offers. I'm going to open up this template designer tool. So this is the tool that is used to create those formatted financial statements. And here's an example of one of those formatted financial statements, the one that we originally started with. And you use this tool, this template designer tool, to actually design and create that report. So I'm going to open up that exact same report that we were looking at, that monthly income statement. This is an example of what it looks like within the template designer. And so you see I have the ability to insert my company logo or any type of image under the Insert tab. It uses the same ribbon that the Microsoft Office programs use, so again, provides some of that familiarity. It looks like Excel. It's Excel-like. It's not exactly Excel, but it functions very similarly to Excel, so again, helping with that learning curve. I can also insert these dynamic members that I talked about earlier, where if you pick a different department, it automatically updates the description of that department. Under my formatting tools, I have all the same features that, you know, most of the same features that you would in Excel: my bolds, my underlines, my borders, my fills, you know, my coloring schemes, conditional highlighting, the ability to freeze column headers, ability to merge cells, many of those same features that you're familiar with in Excel. You're able to design your financial statements and your budget templates utilizing the same tool called Template Designer. One of the other tools is something called Report Binder. And what this tool allows you to do is to create a reporting package. You're able to pull content from different locations into one reporting package, and then able to distribute that reporting package to users based on the distribution list that you define. And so in this example, I have a cover page that I pulled from a Word document. I have a table of contents that I also pulled from a Word document. These are all my Prophix reports that are going to be in this reporting package, so a consolidated income statement and balance sheet, along with an Excel report at the very end that provides some more kind of analysis into some of the intercompany activity. So this is just an example of how you can pull content from different locations. It doesn't all have to be stored within Prophix. You can pull content from other areas and create a reporting package. And then I have my distribution list, and I define who I want this sent to. So I can either have this scheduled automatically to send at the very end of the month, or I can manually distribute this reporting package to these individual users. Each of these users, so you know, I have Andrew Ansley here from HR. Prophix respects the security rights that are assigned to these. So as these reports are distributed, if Andrew Ansley does not have access to the finance and admin department, even though he receives the income statement, he will not see the data for the finance and admin department. So it also, this distribution process also takes into consideration people's read-write access into the data. So the last tool that I want to cover is a tool called Smart Monitor. This is a fairly new feature of Prophix. This is a KPI tool, so it allows you to define what are the metrics, what are the key metrics in our company, and you can create key performance indicators. And so I'm going to drill into the profitability KPI. And within the KPI, you can define, what are the data points that we want to look at. So in this case, I'm looking at specific divisions with my company, along with the total company gross margin and profit margin. And I can also define, what makes up the different strengths or weaknesses or opportunities or threats. And I can look at trending and what's happening with these different divisions and key performance indicators. So I can see here that my industrial division is actually trending downward and is posing a weakness to my company. And you're the one who defines what a strength or weakness is. So as you're setting up these KPIs, you're actually defining what is a weakness defined as. What does it mean when it trends downward or upward? What's considered an opportunity or a threat? So a very good tool for executives, for managers to get a quick glimpse into how their department or division is performing. You're also able to add comments and explain, why there's a weakness or a threat or an opportunity or strength within these KPIs. So that kind of wraps up this portion of the Prophix demonstration. I wanted to real quickly do a quick summary of what we've discussed. We started off on the Prophix homepage. I talked about the navigation, the ability to set up, announcements on the homepage, individual favorites for quick links to your reports or processes. We talked about, the applications and the administration on the navigation bar. This Smart Portal homepage that allows you to embed any type of URL or SQL reporting services report into the Prophix homepage. We talked about the workflow tasks that can be assigned to individual users and how these workflow tasks are specific to the user who is logged into Prophix. We went into the Document Explorer and talked about how Prophix has its own file management system, very similar to Windows Explorer. Users have their own My Documents and can also share reports through these shared report folders. From there, we started talking about the financial reporting capabilities of Prophix. We did that by clicking on one of our favorites. It took us to our income statement, and we talked about the ease of switching between departments, of these not having to be separate reports, but all one report, and just being able to use these filters to switch between departments. We exported this report to Excel and talked about how Prophix automatically creates a table of contents. And we're able to use these hyperlinks to drill directly into the departmental income statements. We created a report directly within Prophix utilizing the Prophix Excel add-in. And after creating that report, we save that report back into Prophix and utilize a tool called Adhoc Analysis to do some further analysis. And with this tool, I showed how you can just drag and drop different dimensions into different areas of the report and easily create a number of different data views by simply using the drag and drop features. We talked about how you can switch between a grid and a chart, and also talked about the drill across feature where you're able to drill into the values and look down into the general ledger and sub-ledger detail on any ERP platform. After finishing up with the ad hoc, we talked about the budgeting features of Prophix. I was able to, from the home page, click on one of my assigned workflow tasks. It automatically opened this budget template. We talked about the spreading techniques, the line item details, the cell comments, the delta analysis where you're able to compare what you're currently planning to maybe prior year actuals. We talked about the workflow submission and allocations and reforecasts. We then moved into the template designer and talked about how it is very much Excel-like and has many of the same formatting tools that Excel has. We talked about the report binder and the ability to create a reporting package by pulling content from different locations and establishing a distribution list. And then lastly, we talked just just talked about the smart monitor reporting and how it allows you to define key metrics and performance indicators within your company, and to define what the strengths and weaknesses and opportunities and threats are of those metrics. So I'm going to go ahead, and that's completed the Prophix webinar. I'm going to go ahead and open up the floor for any questions that there may be. I don't currently see any questions that have been inserted, but if you have a question, please raise your hand and unmute your line, and you can go ahead and ask that question.